always read out of it just because I've got the book.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I just find it easier to follow as I'm reading. My brain follows. Is it better than the Longfellow?
And
Okay.
what is the story of the translation? I'm going to check maybe. And
What is the what now?
the name of the translation, the translator.
Dorothy.
Hmm?
Dorothy. Dorothy. And her last name is Sayers. Sayres.
Yeah, I
Okay.
didn't know if that's available online.
No
Okay.
idea.
Okay, no problem. I'm going to read with Longfellow.
Okay,
Yeah,
I will too then. And
So let
who
me just-
knows? I mean, since you're translating in your brain from Italian, it may not be the same as what my brain does.
Okay, let me just make a little mention here for those who may watch the video later that we're going to be concentrating on Dante's Paradiso 29 today. And with that, we'll begin with the Italian, and then we'll read all the way through in Italian. Then we'll read all the way through in English, and then we will go back to the beginning of the English and read little bits of it and have a discussion about it. Okay, so Chiara, let me switch. Okay, I'm ready anytime, Chiara.
Okay, thank you so much.
Mhm.
Canto 29, Paradiso. Quando ambedue i figli di Latona, coperti del montone e della libra, fanno dell'orizzonte insieme zona, quant'è dal punto che il cenit il libra, infin che l'uno e l'altro da quel cinto, cambiando l'emisperio si dilibra, tanto col volto di riso dipinto, si tacque Beatrice, riguardando fiso nel punto che m'avea vinto. Poi cominciò, io dico e non dimando, quel che tu vuoli udir, perch'io l'ho visto, l'ave s'appunta ogni ubi ogni quando, non per aver a sé di bene acquisto, che esser non può, ma perché suo splendore potesse, risplendendo, dir subsisto, in sua eternità di tempo fuor d'ogni altro comprender, come i pacque, saperse in nuovi amor l'eterno amore, né prima quasi torpente si giacque, che né prima né poscia procedette, lo discorrer di Dio sovra quest'acque. Forma e materia, congiunte e purette, usciro ad esser che non avia fallo, come d'arco tricordo tre saette, e come in vetro, in ambra o in cristallo, raggio resplende sì, che dal venire all'esser tutto non è intervallo. Così il triforme effetto del suo sire, nell'esser suo raggiò, insieme tutto senza distinzione in essordire. Concreato fu ordine costrutto alle sustanze, e quelle furon cima nel mondo in che puro atto fu prodotto. Pura potenza tenne la parte ima, nel mezzo strinse potenza con atto tal vime, che giammai non si divima. Ieronimo vi scrisse lungo tratto di secoli degli angeli creati, anzi che l'altro mondo fosse fatto, ma questo vero è scritto in molti lati, dall'iscrittor dello Spirito Santo. E tu te n'avvedrai se bene agguati, e anche la ragione li vede alquanto, che non concederebbe che motori senza sua perfezion fosser cotanto. Or sei tu dove quando questi amori furon creati e come, sì che spenti nel tuo disio già son tre ardori. Ne giungeriesi, numerando al 20 sì tosto, come degli angeli parte, turbò il soggetto di vostri alimenti. Duncan?
L'altra rimase e commencio questa arte che tu decerno con tanto diletto che mai da circuir non si diparte. Principio del cader fu il maledetto superbir de colui che tu videstre da tutti i pesti del mondo costretto. Quelli che vedi qui furono modesti a riconoscer se della bontate che li aveva fatti a tanto intender presti, perché le viste lor furono esaltate con grazia illuminante e con lor merito si canno ferma e piena volontate e non voglio che dubbi, ma sia certo che ricever la grazia è meritorio, secondo che l'affetto le ha aperto. O mai di torno a questo consitorio, poi contemplare assai, se le parole mie son ricolte sans auto aiutorio. Ma perché? Ma perché mercantera per le vostre scuole si lega che la angelica natura è tal che intende e si ricorda e vuole ancor dirò, perché tu veghi pura la verità che la giui si confonde, equivocando in siffatta lettura. Queste sostanze, poi che fur gioconde della faccia di Dio, non vo serviso da essa, da cui nulla si non nasconde, però non hanno vedere intercesso da nove obietto, e però non bisogna rememora per concerto diviso, sì che giù, non dormendo, si sogna, credendo e non credendo, dicer vero, ma né l'un è più colpa e più vergogna. Voi non andate giù per un sentiero, filosofando, tanto vi trasporta l'amor della apparenza e il suo pensiero. E ancor questo qua su si comporta con men degno che quando è posposta la divina scrittura e quando è torta. Chiaro?
Non vi si pensa quanto sangue costa seminarla nel mondo e quanto piace chi umilmente con essa s'accosta. Per apparer ciascun si insegna e face sue invenzioni, e quelle son trascorse da predicanti e il Vangelio si tace. Un dice che la luna si ritorse nella passion di Cristo e si interpuose perché il lume del sol giù non si porse, e mente che la luce si nascose da sé. Però l'Ispania, l'Indi, come a Giudei tale eclissi rispose. Non ha Fiorenza tanti lapi e bindi, quante si fatte favole per anno in Pergamo si gridan quinci e quindi. Sì che le pecorelle che non sanno tornan dal pasco pasciute di vento e non le scuse non vederlo danno. Non disse Cristo al suo primo convento, andate e predicate al mondo ciancè, ma diede lor verace fondamento. E quel tanto sonò nelle sue guance, sì che a pugnar per accender la fede dell'Evangelio fero scudo e lance. Ora si va con motti e con iscede a predicare, e pur che ben si rida, gonfia il cappuccio e più non si richiede. ma tale uccel nel becchetto s'annida, che se il vulgo il vedesse, vederebbe la pardonanza di che il si confida, per cui tanta stoltezza in terra crebbe, che senza prova d'alcun testimonio ad ogni promission si correrebbe. Di questo ingrassa il porco Sant'Antonio e altri assai che sono ancor più porci, pagando di moneta senza conio. Ma perché sian digressi assai, ritorci gli occhi oramai verso la dritta strada, sì che la via col tempo si raccorci. Questa natura si oltre si ingrada in numero, che mai non fu loquela né concetto mortal che tanto vada. E se tu guardi quel che si rivela per Daniel, vedrai che in sue migliaia determinato numero si cela. La prima luce, che tutta la raglia per tanti modi in essa si recepe, quanti son gli splendore a chi s'appaia. Onde però, che all'atto che concepe, segue l'affetto, d'amar la dolcezza diversamente in essa ferve e tepe. Vedi l'eccelso, omai, e la larghezza dell'eterno valor, poscia che tanti speculi fatti sa in che si spezza, uno manendo in sé come davanti.
Okay. So there we have that. And Dee, do you see the chat reading list?
You are muted.
Oh, I'm muted? Oh, you're muted, Dee.
Yeah.
You have to unmute.
Should I read the Sarah's introduction?
Yeah, why don't you do that? That's good.
Okay, and my voice may give out this change of season or something. I'll do my
Okay.
best.
Okay, don't struggle too much.
I may have to quit. Let's see. The story. For an immeasurably brief instant in terms of time, Beatrice gazes at the infinitesimal point, which is God, here manifested as spaceless and indivisible. Reading Dante's desire therein, his question, she unfolds to him the mysteries of the creation, the relationship of angels to the universe and to God since the fall of Lucifer. Although Dante is now fit to contemplate heaven, Beatrice adds further clarification concerning the endowments of angelic nature and goes on to denounce the vain and pretentious habits of present-day preachers who prefer to elaborate fables of their own rather than abide by the scriptures. Finally, returning to the subject of the angels, she bids Dante reflect upon their innumerableness, their individual diversity, and the immeasurable indivisibility of God. So this whole canto has a whole astronomical dimension, very important.
Mhm.
The planetarium, Anne and I went to the planetarium last weekend. There was a show about the coming eclipse. It's happening. You'll get
Oh, yeah.
full what do you call it, where the sun is completely covered by the moon shadow here in Cleveland. So
Right.
planetarium,
Mhm.
and that how many stars were in the sky when Dante looked at the sky, how many could be seen?
Mhm. Mhm.
The constellations all around the horizon that are
Mhm.
all part of this story. It was really, that show seemed to be about the commedia, about what Dante is looking at and structuring into
Mhm. Mhm.
the story he's telling.
Okay, that's great. So
Okay.
that eclipse is going to be in my backyard, by the way.
Are you getting that full
Yeah, the full thing's going to happen right where I am.
yeah, and here too. I have people coming to Cleveland to
Oh, okay. All right.
It better not be cloudy.
Hey, the heavens do what the heavens are gonna do.
Right, it might just.
Pray
So,
hard.
yeah. Canto 29. As when Latona's son and daughter share the belt of the horizon, and for crown, the stars of Aries and Libra wear, the zenith holds them balanced till anon, freed from their girdle, one moves onwards to the hemisphere above, the other down. So long from the converse, Beatrice withdrew to gaze with rapturous and smiling mien, full on the point which pierced my vision through. I'll tell, not ask, she said, resuming then, what thou wouldst know, for thy desire I see, where centers everywhere and every when. Not to increase his good, which cannot be, but that his splendor shining back might say, behold, I am in his eternity. Beyond the measurement of night and day, beyond all boundary, as he did please, new love's eternal love shed from his ray. Nor did he lie before this at ease, for neither first nor after did proceed the moving of the spirit or the seas. All men, to show their ingenuity, contrived their own inventions. These they preach. The gospel is passed over silently. Next. Wait, you know what? I skipped a page.
Yeah, I couldn't
I
understand.
was wondering, I was going,
Yeah,
where
I'm
did
sorry.
we get
Okay,
that?
one more Canto 22 and then
Okay,
22 and then I'll stop.
all right. Thank
Pure
you for catching.
form, pure matter, form and matter wed, came forth to being without blemish, as three arrows from a three-string bow are sped. Okay, next.
And as through crystal, amber, or plain glass, a sunbeam floods its all pervading fire, not gradual, but instantaneous. So the threefold creation of the sire, from its beginning without sequences, rayed into being instant and entire. Order created with the substances, distinguishing pure act from potency, as summit of the world established these. Pure potency was lower in degree. Midway came potency with act in twisted by withy that shall never unwithied be. Through his writings, Saint Jerome insisted, ere the remaining universe was known, through countless aeons, angels had existed. The truth I tell, in many texts is shown, inscribed by prophets of the Holy Ghost. Read well, 'tis there for thee to come upon. And even reason fathoms it almost. How could the movers for so long remain short of perfection, their fulfillment lost? So now I've taught thee where and how and when such loves are formed, and thy desire to know with these three fires will never burn again. Count up to 20. Thou wilt be too slow. Even faster did one angel band rebel and bring convulsion to the earth below. Next.
Okay, so Kiara, we're on line 52. Do you have?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I have the Longfellow, but I can't follow. Yeah, some words are the same.
Okay, great.
The rest remained, and they began this art, which thou discernest with so great delight, that never from their circling to they cease. The occasion of the fall was the accursed presumption of that one, whom thou hast seen, by all the burden of the world constrained. Those whom thou here behold as modest were, to recognize themselves as of that godness, which made them apt for so much understanding. On which account their vision was exalted by the lightning grace and their own merit, so that they have a full and steadfast will. I would not have thee doubt, but certain be, this meritus to receive this grace, according as the affection opens to it. Now round about in this consistory, much mist to contemplate, if these my words be gathered up without all further aid. But since upon the earth, throughout your schools, they teach that such is the angelic nature, that it doth hear and recollect and will. More will I say, that do my see unmixed, the truth that is confounded there below, equivocating in such like prelections. The next.
These substances, sensing God's countenance, they jocund were, turn not away their sight. From that wherefore not anything is hidden. Hence, they have not their vision intercepted by object new, and hence they do not need to recollect through interrupted thought. So that below, not sleeping people dream, believing they speak truth and not believing. And in the last is greater sin and shame. Below, you do not journey by one path, philosophizing, so transporteth you love of appearance and the thought thereof. And even this above here is endured with less disdain than when is set aside the holy writ and when it is distorted, or when it is distorted. They think not there how much of blood it costs to sow it in the world, and how he pleases who in humility keeps close to it. Each striveth for appearance and doth make his own inventions. And of these treated are by preachers, and the evangel holds its peace. One saith that the moon did backward turn in the passion of Christ, and interposed herself so that the sunlight reached not down below. And lies for its own accord the light, hid itself, whence to Spaniards and to Indians as to the Jews did such eclipse respond. Florence has not so many Lappi and Bendi, as fables such as these that every year are shouted from the pulpit back and forth, in such wise that the lambs who do not know come back from pasture fed upon the wind, and not to see the harm doth not excuse them. Next, please. Back to Didi. Didi, you have your microphone on?
Christ did not to his first disciples say, "Go forth and to the world preach idle tales," but unto them a true foundation gave. And this so loudly sounded from their lips, that in the warfare to enkindle faith, they made of the evangel shields and lances. Now men go forth with jests and drolleries to preach, and if but well the people laugh, the hood puffs out and nothing more is asked. But in the cowl there nestles such a bird that if the common people were to see it, they would perceive what pardons they confide in, for which so great on earth has grown the folly, that without proof of any testimony to each indulgence, they would flock together. By this, Saint Anthony his pig doth fatten, and many others who are worse than pigs, paying in money without mark of coinage. Next.
Since of digression we have taken our fill, henceforth along the straight road let us wend. As time grows short, our way must we curtail. The angelic nature in number doth extend so far beyond the range of mortal mind. No tongue or thought has ever reached the end. And in the book of Daniel, thou wilt find, for all the thousands, he there states, no fixed and final figure is assigned. The primal light, the whole irradiates and is received therein as many ways as there are splendors, wherewithal it mates. Since then affection waits upon the gaze and its intensity, diversely bright, therein the sweets of love now glow, now blaze. Consider well the breadth, behold the height of his eternal goodness. Seeing that o'er so many mirrors it doth shed its light, yet one abideth as it was before. The end. Dee Dee, did you go on to Longfellow then?
I meant to read Longfellow since Kiara had it, but I forgot. So, and I went back. I have both of them sitting here at my disposal.
Yeah, but the translations sometimes are very similar, and so I could follow the passages actually. Yeah, I was not lost.
Well, you read the English as though you know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it was strange. It's very strange. It's very, very strange because it's it's not an easy English, and yeah.
Maybe, maybe it's more, Longfellow is more like Italian than Sayers.
Yeah, I don't know, maybe it's ancient English, I think, because it was hard for me, some words that I didn't know. I don't know. It's the first time that I read Dante in English. I've read just in Italian.
Yeah, it's very
good, yeah.
I tried, but
you have to do it every week now to practice.
yeah, I have to practice. Yeah,
it's a good challenge.
Yeah, it's not easy. Yeah,
no, a challenging way to practice English.
Yeah. Reading Dante in English.
Right, and we're going to get Sylvia and Dee Dee to read in Italian.
Oh.
Yeah, but in Italian is hard sometimes, also for me that I am Italian. But there are also in Paradiso in particular, a lot of new words, strange words.
Yes, actually well, of course your Italian is just fine and dandy, but I can understand what you mean by hard. Mm-hmm. Because I mean, to me, it's all I have to do is concentrate on the sound.
Yeah.
Not that I do a great job at it, but that is my task, just to kind of parrot the sound rather than be concerned about the meaning. So the unusual Italian words in it, they're not really a hindrance for me.
Yeah, in English, it's the same. I try to concentrate on pronunciation and
Yeah, no, that's really, it really helps. You know, I also read in, of course, it's Joyce. I read in Portuguese and in French. And I do not pretend to be a good reader in either, but I will say that I am better than when I started.
Yeah.
The Portuguese I started a year ago, and the French I started, I think, 6 months ago.
Okay. And do you speak French or Portuguese or no?
You know, I think if I was in France or in Portugal, that I'm confident that I could learn to speak it well enough to get through the daily life. And I actually had that same confidence if I went back to Italy and stayed for a while. You know, I would be able to get everyday stuff done
Yeah, well,
eventually. So that's fun. But anyway, let us look at the meaning of this rather complex canto.
It's about astronomy in the time of Dante,
Mhm.
built into the whole canto.
It is built into the whole canto. Although there is a little bit of irony in here as well.
It seems to me there is a little bit of I guess it wasn't Lucretius. Who was it? Who he read the old Greeks philosophy, who I can't think of the name of the writer, but he's looking at the real cosmos, talking about what God is, and the cosmology and the spiritual, the theology are braided together in this canto.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Did you by any chance look at the Baroliniano commento?
Oh, I didn't have a chance.
But I looked at 28, I thought we were doing 20. But no, it's great that we have it all there to dip into. Thank you, Dante. Thank you, Dante.
It's really
I meant to
amazing.
say Duncan, and I said, thank you, Dante.
There you go. That's a better person to thank anyway.
And I was
And
thanking
we,
him at the planetarium. It was so
Mhm.
interesting.
Okay, does everybody have a PDF copy of that book that I put on the Dante group list probably 3 months ago about Dante's Dante and the Cosmos?
I think
No.
I found it, but I have to find time to read it. Maybe tonight.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I just want to make sure you have it. It's not necessary to read. As a matter of fact, this particular canto, in an overall sense, is a really interesting one because it's saying that, you know, the angels don't need knowledge. That all the angels do is they look at the center point of the universe all day, all the time. And they get their orientation that way. If you have not taken a look at the Commento Baroliano for chapter 28, let me just read the title. It says, Why Angels Don't Remember and Why Humans Do.
Hmm.
Okay, Dee Dee, so are we going to start rereading the English part a bit at a time here?
Right. I think Kiara's next. And we've been reading Kiara
No, you can
until
read. Okay.
until a question, somebody has a question, you or somebody else, and then we stop and look at the question, even like the first line. Who are the children of Latona?
Yeah, just a second.
There.
Okay. So the beginning of the canto, right?
Right, and the
Mhm, that
children
is
of
correct. Yeah,
Latona,
just
I
read.
looked up, yeah, they have the sun and the moon.
Yeah. At what time both the children of Latona, surmounted by the ram and by the scales, together make a zone of the horizon. As long as from the time that zenith holds them in equipoise, till from that girdle, both changing their hemisphere, disturb the balance. So long, her face depicted with a smile. Did Beatrice keep silence while she gazed fixedly at the point which had overcome me? Then she began, I say, and I ask not what to dost wish to hear, for I have seen it where centuries, every when and every ubi. Not to acquire some good unto himself, which is impossible, but that his splendor in its resplendency may say subsisto. In his eternity, outside of time, outside all other limits, as it pleased him, into new loves the eternal love unfolded. Nor as if torpid did
Wait,
it.
do we know everything here? Are we ready to move on, having felt we understand this?
Well, I assume since you're asking Dee Dee that you have something that you want to ask about.
Well, I'm
Or
just
you
trying
want
to
to
get the
explore.
picture. Yeah, I'm trying to get the picture of the astronomical picture he's painting.
Mhm.
And then on line 11 and 12, where centers every one, every when, and every ubi. What is ubi? Does anybody know what that is?
Yeah, ubi is where in Latin.
Say that
Where.
again. Where?
Where, yeah.
Ah, thank you.
No.
Oh, when and
Ile-
where. Okay, so where
Yeah.
centers every when and where.
Yeah.
So it's time and space.
Yeah, actually, yeah. Time and space.
Time and
Also.
space. Yes. So I think astronomically, at some point it would probably be interesting to know exactly what astronomical thing he's talking about. But I think at the moment the important thing is that he's talking about something astronomical.
Yeah, cosmological and spiritual. So what's coming up is what that is. The next several lines is about the cosmological and spiritual when and where of that center, not when and not where. And even what is the line? Not to acquire some good unto himself.
This himself in this case is referring to the point which represents God up in the tip of the prima mobile.
Yeah, I wonder why she didn't make it a capital H.
Well, I don't know. In the Italian, is it capital or not?
Oh, and what line is that, Dee Dee? Is that
Uh,
18?
That
Not
is
to
line
acquire some good unto himself. I think that's 12,
13.
13.
Mhm.
No, yeah, it's a capital H in mine.
Yeah, there is a capital H in Sayers. That
Yeah.
helps.
Okay, okay.
And even his, the next one, which is impossible,
Mhm.
obviously,
Mhm.
God isn't trying to gain something.
No, he is the something.
He is, but that his splendor, I think that should be capitalized too, his splendor. In its resplendency, may say, subsisto.
Mhm.
What is that?
Subsist
I think
is like I exist, actually.
Ah,
Oh,
Ille-
subsistence, I exist.
I
Okay.
think there is a new word, there's a neologism invented by Dante, I think, because
Mhm.
it seems Latin, but I don't know if it's Latin, I don't know. But it's
That
like I exist, subsisto, I exist.
Yeah, I am enough.
yeah, that makes sense. And then it's like in his eternity, outside of time,
Yeah.
outside
Okay.
all other limits.
I'm going to read, I would like to read Robert Hollander's comment on lines 13 through 18. Okay. We are in the highest part of God's creation and time, a mixture of form and matter, the heavens. This sphere, we remember, is governed by the seraphim, the highest order of angels dedicated to loving God. Dante has asked a most difficult theological question. If God is self-sufficient, if he has no needs, why did he bother to create anything at all? The answer that Beatrice offers is simplicity itself. He created because he loves and wanted the angels to enjoy his love in their being, loving him in return. End of comment.
But weren't the angels there with him?
The angel
Did he decide to create the physical world so that the angels would exist?
No, I believe at this point I should say I should always couch all my remarks. I believe that the creation starts at the top where the center is, and then we get the seraphim, and then we get the next layer of angels, and then we get the next layer of this, and it's like an upside down cone.
But the question of why God created the physical world is what you read. That's the question that apparently the commentator you read says
Yeah,
that
right. Well, it says that this
Canto-
is Dante is asking this question, according to Hollander.
right, and then that in order for the angels to exist was the answer.
Okay. I mean,
No, that's what I heard.
okay. That's what you heard. He created because he loves and wanted the angels to enjoy his love in their being, loving him in return. Yeah, and personally, from my point of view, it's not a question for me. How about that? It's just not a question for me. It is what it is. As in the Hindu thing, it is. It is. And then in the Zen thing, they would just say, focus on the clear light and don't worry about it.
But what is Dante doing?
What is he doing? He's up there right in the tip of the cone with
In
Beatrice.
writing this canto. You said the canto was about why God created physical life. And the answer was in order for the angels to exist.
Okay. He created, okay, this is Hollander, by the way, it's not me.
Good.
He created because he loves and wanted the angels to enjoy his love and their being loving him in return.
Ah, so God wanted something.
According to Hollander. I can't say that I totally agree with this, but I think I think this sort of explanation satisfied some need that Dante himself had. And he just couldn't go back. My rough interpretation of this is he needed an explanation because he couldn't just go back after coming all this way. And when people ask him, well, why God do this? He couldn't be satisfied with saying because he wanted to, because he did.
When I was reading in Barolini just last night about Dante visions, where did these images, these visions come from? Is what she's talking about. And she's talking about what is real, what really, or what Dante is saying is real, or how much of it is fantasy. That's what she's talking about in this chapter that I'm reading.
Okay. And what does she say?
It's hard to decide what I'm having trouble with this. I'd love to talk about that chapter because it's like she knows she has something she's saying, but what is it? I haven't figured it out yet, that's for sure.
Okay. Well, just as a tentative thing, I think part of what she's saying is actually in the title of her comment, her commento on this particular chapter, which is why angels don't remember and why humans do. And my very simplistic explanation for now is angels don't have to remember because they're paying attention to the origin. And humans, because they're unable to focus on the origin, have to come up with explanations. And explanations exist in time, because humans, we really haven't gotten it yet. But we think we're going to get it because we are knowledge creatures. And so we think we have to have an intellectual understanding of it. And intellectual understandings exist in time. And time involves memory. If we were angels and we didn't exist in time, we wouldn't have to remember.
It's getting me somewhere. Thank you, Duncan.
Yeah.
I'm going to read that chapter a few times.
But there's a whole bit of it that he can't explain. Because just this whole thing of the point, or God, you just can't even grasp it, what it is. Infinitesimal and all of it, you can't, there's no way you can measure it or explain it, or he just can't even explain it.
Yeah, and this is where I kind of fall back into, now I'm probably going to get, kicked in the butt and another contour or two, but this is where I fall back into the idea of contemplation and devotion. That if you are contemplating and you are devoted, so let's just assume for the moment that we've all gone on this trip. And we are all up there just below the seraphim, looking at this little tiny bright point up in the top of the primum mobile, and we are just overwhelmed by it all. We see the angels, you know, seraphim are flying around, and then you got the cherubim flying around, and then you got all these angels flying around, and they're all looking up at the center where there is no space and there's no time. And you know, this is where, would we need an explanation at that point? And I'll answer my own question. The answer to my question is, if I did not have the task of going back to Earth and writing a massive poem to try to explain all this to my fellow human beings, I wouldn't need an explanation at all.
You know, Max talked about the idea, the hallucination idea. And I'm just wondering if that's where Dante's mind went, where this kind of concept looked like that's the way things are to him.
You know, I've done lots of hallucinating with lots of substances. No recent experiences. My experiences are, you know, 30, 40 years old. But I've had a lot of time to think about it, and I've realized over time, and I guess I could say maybe it's because I had taken substances and had these visions and hallucinations, but I'm not sure they were even necessary.
Well, I have, without substances.
Without substances, you can get there, right?
Right, absolutely. Then, of course, I had a nervous breakdown.
Well, yeah. Well, in Hindu thought, they do have the idea of Kundalini, and actually in Chinese thought, they do have the idea of Qi. Like in Qigong, I was practicing Qigong with a teacher when I was in school, the Oriental Medicine School, and we had another student, really nice guy. He was a rolfer, very accomplished rolfer. And he was also doing these Qigong exercises with us. And he had been told, do not do this when there's any thunderstorms around.
Mine was associated with Qigong experience too.
Okay, well, he had forgotten, and he practiced in a thunderstorm, and he temporarily blew all of his circuits out.
Wow.
You know, and it lasted for a couple of weeks before he actually started coming down. So yeah, there's something to be said for taking one's time.
Yeah, right. I was I was reckless.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the American way, right? I mean, we want to get there, you know, those who are fastest win the race, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And I've done similar things. There were times when I took too much of a substance and had too many experiences, and then I had to spend some time rewiring or allowing my nerve endings to heal themselves.
Yeah.
So
maybe what we talked about will help with the rest of it.
Yeah, I just want to repeat one thing. I think that this part is really important to Dante because he has an actual task which he set to himself, which is to go back and to write a divine comedy to try to share what he experienced with his fellow human beings. And I will have to say that I'm not sure that if I was actually up in this particular area and was having these experiences, whether I would even be interested in going back.
Yeah. Uh-huh. So we should start reading from 19, right after Into New Loves, the Eternal Love Unfolded. So who comes after Kiara Duncan?
Am I okay? So let me get back to.
Are you starting on 19, Dee?
No,
Yeah.
Kiara read up to around that point. So now we'll
Okay,
start
okay.
at
So we
19.
read up. We actually read up to line 15. So I'm going
Oh.
to start at line 16.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
So in his eternity, outside of time, outside all other limits as it pleased him, into new loves the eternal love unfolded. Okay. So once again, the his and the him is referring to the creator point at the top of the premium mobile, which creates everything else. Okay, not as if torpor did he lie before. For neither after nor or before proceeded the going forth of God upon these waters. So, if you don't mind, I'm going to make a comment when I see one. So here we once again, not as if torpor did. I'll use the word God lie before. So before the creation, he wasn't asleep. For neither after nor before proceeded the going forth of God upon these waters. Matter and form, unmingled and conjoined, came into being that had no defect. So, Didi, actually drawing on Hindu thought, as you know, I believe in Hindu thought there is the idea that Brahma, before the creation, Brahma is resting. And I think that this is a little bit different. They're saying that the creator point up in the prima mobile was not resting even before the creation. Okay. Matter and form unmingled and conjoined came into being that had no defect. Aaron as three arrows from a single Aaron as three arrows from a three-string bow. Okay, I think it's important that we figure that one, this out, the three arrows and the three-string bow.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Stairs doesn't mention it.
The three-string bow? Let me see what Hollander, Hollander is very Catholic. So he's kind of a good person. Okay, so this says, I'm going to read Hollander's note. I haven't read it before, but I'm going to read it. So he's talking about between lines 22 and 36. And Hollander says, Piero Boitani.
Yeah, he's a scholar, an Italian scholar.
Mm-hmm. Creazione e cadute di Paradiso 29.
Ok.
Adduces Paradiso with its sense of God's creation being motivated by love as lying behind this passage for the distinction between forma and atto and between materia and potenza. Oh,
There's a helpful note here in Longfellow,
okay.
starting with line 22. Pure matter, or the elements, pure form of the angels, and the two conjoined, the human race. So those were the three arrows.
Oh, okay. Well, what's the third?
Elements, pure matter, or the
Mhm.
elements, that's the first arrow.
Mhm.
Pure form, or the angels, that's the second arrow. And the two conjoined become the human race. That's the third arrow.
Okay, I like that. You know, that really lines up with the Chinese thought in the I Ching. I imagine everyone is familiar with the hexagrams.
Mhm.
Okay, well, the hexagram, as you may already know, the upper two lines in the hexagram. Kiara, do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. I've heard, but I don't know a lot.
Okay, so there's 6 lines in each of the each of the 64 hexagrams in the I Ching. The two upper lines represent heaven, form, if you will. The two lower lines represent earth and elements. We'll call that what term does he use, Dee Dee? Matter, form and matter, right?
Mhm.
So yeah, okay. So the two lower lines are matter, and the two middle lines are human beings.
Ok.
And there's more of an interest in the note here. And this goes along with Carolina saying that Beatrice is teaching Aquinas form in the language of the schools and as defined by Thomas Aquinas as the principle, quote, by which we first think, whether it be called intellect or intellectual soul. And that's what form is. The intellect or the intellectual soul, according to Aquinas.
Okay.
And Sayers talks about act, which is form, matter, which is potency, and then a combination of the three, of the two.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I have more here from Sayers. Pure
Okay.
form, pure matter, form and matter wed. Pure form is pure mind, that is the angels. Pure matter is the primal, undifferentiated stuff of the elements. Form and matter wed are the material heavens. And here Dante is closely following Aristotle. Oh, that's what you read, and those three factors, 3 arrows.
Mhm. Okay, I'm gonna put something in the chat, and then I'm gonna read it.
Yeah, there's more here that's helpful, I think. The difference between act and potency may perhaps be better understood by considering the difference between the two adjectives, actual and potential. Man's intellect is potential. That of the angels is actual. that is, all the potentialities of an angel's existence are continuously actualized. Primal matter is potential. The material heavens are both potential and actual. They are potency and act held together. That is, the perfectly actualized power of the angels controls the heavens, but the heavenly bodies remain material and subject to the natural laws governing primal matter.
Okay. So I did a share screen, and this is from the Dartmouth lab, the Dante lab at Dartmouth. And the reason I did this, the share screen is this is the Robert Hollander comment on verses 31 through 36. So I'd like to read this together. The standard gloss is found in Bosco Reggio, commentaries to these verses, who say that the angels' pure act, pure form or substance, unmodified by accidents, were created in the Empyrean. That pure matter, unformed matter before God created the universe, was the condition of the earth before the event recorded in Genesis chapter 1, lines 1 through 2, that the 9 heavens between the Empyrean and earth were created out of a mixture of form and matter, act, atto, and potential, potenza. However, then he's just going to make a reference to another footnote with somebody else. So,
Well, it's Averroes, which brought him the Greek philosophers.
mhm. There is a persistent counter view, one that understands the second aspect of the creation differently as mankind. And then he gives a reference.
He's also, but there's a disapproval of that idea.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as I'm sure Chiara can tell us in great detail, there's lots of controversy and lots of different interpretations of all of this stuff. Yeah.
I don't know a lot, actually.
Okay. Well,
Yeah. Yeah, because Paradiso is always a clue for me. I'm reading now with you, actually, but
yeah. Well, I mean,
I have a lot to learn
once you-
about Paradiso because my studies were always on Inferno in particular, something about Purgatorio, and now it's time to go into Paradiso, and it's hard.
Yeah, it's cosmology.
Yeah, a lot of things, and there is everything: theology, cosmology, history,
Mhm.
people that I don't know, and yeah.
Did I ever talk about the cosmologists? They were watching a black hole, 2 black holes collide. The way the telescopes bring in pictures, they create from the signal, the computer creates pictures, and
Mhm.
when it also creates sound. And when the 2 black holes collided, they heard the sound, the explosion. And when they were in a lab together, and when the cosmologist heard the sound that of the sight they were seeing, of the explosion, of the crash between the 2 black holes, they cried, because to them it was the proof that God exists and that the whole universe is the center of the whole universe is God, and that the whole universe is a brain, all connected. They cried because of that sound that they heard. That was
Okay.
on the news. I don't know how many years ago, 8, 9 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right. Let me do this here.
My brain is completely fried with
Hey,
this.
what if we just read out loud the rest of it again in the next
But you know what I
7
got?
minutes?
But you
What?
know, I just find that there's a tension there that is explaining this, this form and matter and whatever, and and then by how the angels exist, and then I'm thinking, but creation and human beings, there's some muddle there for me. I don't
It
know.
doesn't matter. What is
Well, they're mhm.
just
You know what I'm-
drifting through it without trying to understand one more time so we can go on to 30 next time.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? I just
Oh,
think,
yeah,
Yes,
absolutely.
yes.
The
It's
brain can
very
only, yeah.
well.
and
I
that at
think
the
I,
beginning.
I think a lot of the tension for us human beings, particularly modern human beings, is we want to understand at a verbal and conceptual level.
Mm,
And as Dante explained right back in the first two cantos, he said he said, make sure you really want to go on this journey, because intellectually this is a very difficult journey.
mm,
And I think that was a true warning, that if you desire too detailed of an explanation in too quick of a time, it's difficult. And that's why personally fall back to the idea that if I had gotten this far and I was able to see the center point or God or the origin of creation, that I would probably fall into a contemplation and would not be like Dante. Dante had an overarching purpose, which was to try to observe this and come up with explanations that he could bring back to share with people. I might be more selfish. I might just
mm.
contemplate and not worry about understanding
Yeah. Now
anything
that
else.
now that we've kind of got a grip on the beginning, I feel like I could just kind of
Bliss.
go mindlessly through the rest of it.
Yeah, well, and one of my major teachers is an old Chinese guy from hundreds of years ago, and he said, "Don't use mind to think about mind." Now, in the Zen tradition, the idea is that if you quiet yourself and you just observe, you will see that mind is clear.
Mhm.
That's as far as you can go in explanation. You can't explain it.
But I
You
needed
can
that beginning.
say that again, Didi.
I needed that beginning, that intellectual look at what we were
Yeah,
looking at.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
we have no choice. We're modern people,
Yeah.
and and so we have to struggle with the idea of explaining and understanding and proving and all that stuff.
Yeah, but now I don't need to anymore.
I will say sometimes I don't need to. And
No, I
other
mean,
times
just
I
the
need.
rest of this canto.
All right. Okay. So where do you want to start reading?
Where did we start?
We stopped at the 3-string bow on line 24.
Okay, so let's
Yeah.
go after that.
Okay, and I was the last person to read, so I believe that you are the next reader.
Okay,
Judy.
okay.
Yeah.
And as in glass, in amber, or in crystal, a sunbeam flashes, so that from its coming to its full being is no interval, so from its Lord did the triform effect ray forth into its being altogether, without discrimination of beginning. Order was concreated and constructed in substance, and summit of the world were those wherein the pure act was produced. Pure potentiality held the lowest part, midway bound potentiality with act, such bond that it shall never be unbound. Jerome has written unto you of angels created a long lapse of centuries, or ever yet the other world was made. But written is the truth in many places by writers of the Holy Ghost, and thou shalt see it if thou lookest well thereat. And even reason seeth it somewhat, for it would not concede that for so long could be the motors without their perfection. Now dost thou know both where and when these loves created were, and how, so that the extinct in thy desire already are three fires, nor could one reach in counting unto 20 so swiftly, as a portion of these angels disturbed the subject of your elements. The rest remained, and they began this art which thou discernest with so great delight that never from their circling do they cease. Next.
Okay, I'm now on Sayers. The fall's beginning was the pride accursed of one whom thou hast seen deep in the pit. The world with all its weight holds him coerced. The other angels humbly did admit the goodness whence they have their provenance and understanding for this joy made fit. Merit and grace their vision so enhance, but now their will steadfast and perfect grown from its objective knows no severance. Lest thy belief should waver, be it known that merit dwells in the receipt of grace in measure as the heart to it is prone. Henceforth, as concerns this sacred place, thou mayest unaided contemplate thy fill, if garnered are my words for future days. Yet since on earth your schoolmen argue still that mid endowments of angelic nature are understanding, memory, and will. Shall I go? I'll tell you more, that purged of all conjecture, the truth thou see, of which men spake amiss, confounding here two censors when they lecture.
Okay. Carol?
Yeah, sorry, I had a spider in my bed and I
Oh.
escaped.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay. Okay.
Yeah, but I'm here. Yeah, no problem.
Okay. Do you want to read or do you need to deal with the spider?
No, I won.
You
Along came the spider.
Yeah, I was scared just because, yeah, it was very big in Ireland. You know, there are these big spiders.
Okay.
Sorry, which time?
All right. Well, whatever you want me to read, and then you can read after me. Or if you want to read, you can start on line 76.
76. Yeah, I can read. Okay. These substances, since in God's countenance they jocund were, turn not away their side from that wherefrom not anything is hidden. Hence they have not their vision intercepted by object new, and hence they do not need to recollect through interrupted thought. So that below, not sleeping, people dream, believing they speak truth, and not believing, and in the last is greater sin and shame. Below you do not journey by one path, philosophizing so transported you love of appearance and the thought thereof. And even this above here is endured with less disdain, that when is set aside the holy writ, or when it is distorted. They think not there how much of blood it costs to sow it in the word, and how he pleases, who in humility keeps close to it. Okay.
Okay. Each striveth for appearance and doth make his own inventions. And these treated are by preachers, and by the evangel holds its peace. Oh, and these treated are by preachers, and the evangel holds its peace. One saith that the moon did backward turn in the passion of Christ, and interposed herself, so that the sunlight reached not down below. And lies for its own accord, the light hid itself. Whence to Spaniards and to Indians, as to Jews, did such eclipse respond. Florence has not so many Lappi and Bindi as fables such as these, that every year are shouted from the pulpit back and forth. And in such wise that the lambs who do not know come back from pasture fed upon the wind, and do not see the harm doth not, and not to see the harm doth not excuse them. Christ did not to his first disciples say, go forth into the world, preach idle tales, but unto them a true foundation gave. And this is so loudly sounded from their lips that in the warfare to enkindle faith, they made of the evangel shields and lances. Didi.
Now men go forth with jests and drolleries to preach, and if but well the people laugh, the hood puffs out, and nothing more is asked. But in the cowl there nestles such a bird that if the common people were to see it, they would perceive what pardons they confide in, for which so great on earth has grown the folly, that without proof of any testimony to each indulgence, they would flock together. By this Saint Anthony his pig doth fatten, and many others who are worse than pigs, paying him money without mark of coinage. But since we have digressed abundantly, turn back thine eyes forthwith to the right path, so that the way be shortened with the time. This nature doth so multiply itself in numbers, that there never yet was a speech nor mortal fancy that can go so far. And if thou notice that which is revealed by Daniel, thou wilt see that in his thousands number determinate is kept concealed. The primal light that all irradiates it by modes as many as received therein, as are the splendors wherewith it is mated. Hence, inasmuch as on the act conceptive, the affection followeth of love, the sweetness therein diversely fervid, or is tepid. The height behold now, and the amplitude of the eternal power, since it hath made itself so many mirrors, where 'tis broken, one in itself remaining as before.
Ba-ba-ba-bum.
Oh dear. I'm glad we did it anyhow.
It doesn't answer my question.
I'm
Okay.
sure.
But I've always had all my life was the whole question of Lucifer. If you have these angels, and you know, at the very beginning, you know, that we started with that the angels have no memory and they
Mhm, mhm.
human memory, you know, so that implies that the angels, whichever level we're talking about of angel, you know, they don't really have a sentient, they're not
They don't have
sentient,
they don't have a what now?
sentient beings. I don't know, I'm only trying to figure it out. How could
Okay.
Lucifer, you know, possess a pride or whatever was his fault that he was chucked out? I don't know.
Oh, okay.
How did Lucifer, you know, how did he manage to take on the system, which is what he did?
Well, he fell into space and time.
Yeah, but he took on the system, whatever this is that we're talking about. The point. He took on the
Well, evil,
Well,
he originated evil.
yeah, but I don't know. Could
No,
never
Yeah.
I'm sure that doesn't answer your question.
yeah, of course, as you know, it's a difficult question, but I believe that the parallel is the eating of the fruit of the tree of good and evil.
Will he?
That actually Adam and Eve were repeating Lucifer's sin. And I use sin, the best definition that I like for sin is the Aramaic word for sin, which is hamartia. And hamartia means it's actually an archery. It's another bow and arrow thing. And hamartia is to miss the mark. So it's not really evil. It's not really directly evil. It's only evil in the sense that just like Adam and Eve, at least one school of thought is that actually they would have gotten the fruit of the tree of knowledge. All they had to do was wait until it was offered to them.
What was Lucifer's argument with God?
Um,
There's some specific story.
pride. Did he suffer
there was
from the
pride. He wanted to be on the throne right next to God. As at least one story. I'm not quite sure that that's actually in the Bible. Does anybody know the Bible well enough to tell me if that's
I'm going to
actually
ask my Bible friend. I'm going to actually maybe take a walk with her this afternoon.
okay? All right, good. So explore for us.
what we've been doing here? I think, you know, this wonderful place that we've been in, that we've been floating in, this is perfection. So how, you know, how do you, you know, how if you're in something so perfect and so wonderful, that it's, you know, all those words that it's indescribable and unmeasurable. And yet we have somebody in this perfect place that fell out of it or was
Yeah.
thrown. I don't know.
And when we go back to the Inferno, maybe we'll understand more about Lucifer.
Yeah, and I think your question, of course, Sylvia, is a very pertinent question.
Oh,
You know, and you know, needs to be kept in mind, particularly as we finish up Paradiso and then we go back and we begin from the beginning with, I think, a greater consciousness than we've done it so far. We've accomplished a lot of good things, including working out a way to work with the material. And we're on 29. I mean, 4 more chapters,
Yeah.
and then we will go back. And I think it sounds a little tepid and Pollyannish, but I think that the watchword is faith and patience. And that with faith and patience, that we literally relax physically and mentally, and we begin to see and notice things which our mental and physical tension has blocked from us. So
I think the close reading really opens up a lot of doors and windows.
Yeah.
We did three cantos at a time in Paradiso. I mean, we really didn't look at them.
well, yeah, that was a suggestion, and I think actually it enlightened us to the degree that we realized that we need to slow down
I
and look
mean,
at it in more detail.
Well,
I
I'm
mean, I mean, in the Inferno, we did 3 at a time.
Yeah.
So,
Mhm.
but yeah, it is really, yeah, it really does stop you in your track, it just,
Yeah. At least I find it really wonderful, but it's very counter the modern way.
Yeah.
The modern way is more and more and more and more and more and faster and faster and faster.
mm,
And so I think that the close reading and the willingness to move on, knowing that we still have more to understand, but that we're going to come back and we're going to be working on this again is it's great. It's great for me.
yeah, it's
It's
very,
really good for me. I've always said I'm a slow boy. I'm in no hurry for anything. I
oh,
did. I watch my grandson. My grandson's always in a hurry. You
Me
know.
too sometimes, but I would like to to learn your teaching.
It's just.
do,
I
do
got a
they,
long way to go, but I have come a long way,
yeah,
and
so,
I do know that at least for me, the key is slowing down, and in a sense, not trying to do it myself. That's what's so great about reading with people like you all.
mm,
We're sharing things, we're questioning each other, we're going off on tangents but coming back, and it's really good.
yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's been great. Sorry, I keep missing because I'm usually traveling or something.
Yeah, you're going out and bringing us back experiences, Sylvia. You don't have.
I know I've done a lot of traveling this year.
Okay, well, when you're in Florence and you see the statue of Dante, be sure to say hello and thank you for me.
Yeah.
there's one in Cleveland too.
Yeah. Okay, well, I think we should probably say goodbye for now and give ourselves a little resting and digestion time for sure. And we'll gather together here by the electronic well next Wednesday.
Okay.